pleased to announce today we will be reprogramming $150 million for Egypt to put ourselves in a position to support the transition there and assist with their economic recovery. The FY fiscal year 2011 spending bill that is on the House floor right now would have serious negative consequences for America's national security. A 16% cut for state and USAID in that bill would, for example, force us to scale back dramatically on our missions in the frontline states of Iraq, Afghanistan, and Pakistan.
There's no policy reason for the Senate to oppose this bill. It reflects a bicameral, bipartisan agreement that was reached in December regarding the funding of the Department of Defense. And we should get this troop funding bill enacted, especially in light of the fact that we are now involved in a third war. As I said from the beginning, our goal is to make real spending cuts to support job creation in our country. And failing to make real spending cuts will just send the signal that Washington is not serious about dealing with the fiscal crisis that we face. It would further erode confidence in our economy and create additional uncertainty and hurt private sector job creation.
Republican budget would add more than $8 trillion to the national debt over the next decade. $8 trillion over the next decade. Passing the budget and addressing our nation's economic challenges requires us to seek compromises. But threatening seniors' health and cutting off our children's education just to give tax breaks to millionaires and billionaires is not the middle ground that we strive to find. In fact, we're not going to find the middle ground if we're just talking about dollars and cents. We have to take this debate to a higher ground, a higher ground of our value.
And it's going to take us making some very, very tough choices. And believe me, there's a choice. And we've come to a point in our nation's history where we are about to make a definitional choice. And that choice is, what kind of country do we want to be? And I'd like to sort of draw two distinct images that sort of point out the kind of choice that we've got to make. Last year, we saw repeatedly images in the news of people gathering in the streets of the cities of Europe. Many of those individuals were young people. They were joining with others in the country capitals there, insisting in their opposition to their government's attempt to rein in spending and retirement benefits. Now just think, many young people taken to the streets, but also people who had barely started their careers insisting on better retirement benefits. Now, I don't think that's the kind of America we want to be.
There is no coherent or acceptable reason to continue holding men who have been cleared for release.
Today, tragically, 173 men remain at the prison that President Barack Obama promised to empty by last January.
Amnesty International, whom the entire world has come to respect over the years for their advocacy of human rights.
I'm extremely distressed over the fact that the U.S. is involved in torture and rendition, and it's just got to stop. This is not what we're about as a country.
A serious criminal offense to suppress evidence that would exonerate men in the pursuit of political aims.
Look, the Senate is the Senate, and all I've said is we'll be voting on the health care review. You all know that I'm typically not inclined to discuss with you the way in which these things come about. But in the Senate, it's difficult to deny a vote. And let me just ask this, why would our friends on the other side not want to have this vote? Only 3 Democrats in the House have voted to repeal it. Only 3. I believe they're proud of it. I think you will hear the president brag about it tonight. I don't know why in the world they wouldn't want to have a vote on repeal and proudly a vote against it. But if they choose not to have the vote in a sort of voluntary way, we will have it, I assure you.
Well, you know, I'm all about infrastructure, investing in infrastructure, investing in science and technology and innovation for the future, because I think that's where 21st century job growth happens. And so it was actually good to hear the president really lay out an investment strategy for the innovation economy. And so I'm looking forward to that. I think that we still have a lot of work to do when it comes to looking at where in our deficits, where in our budgets we're going to cut to make sure there's some shared responsibility to bear the burden of deficit reduction for the future. And I think that there was a lot of promise in the president's statement, particularly around the value and protection of Social Security. And so it was really good to hear that.
Okay. Was there anything you were disappointed or surprised with tonight?
Not really. I mean, I think the president laid out a pretty aggressive agenda. After all, he's had an aggressive agenda for the last 2 years. I think it was important for him to say very clearly that he's still, 100% behind health care reform, but it's a beginning and not an end. And where there are opportunities that we need to improve the law, we'll do that, but we aren't going to dismantle it.
The new majority is launching an assault on Title X and endangering women's health. And understand what their purpose is: to impose their traditional views on a woman's role. As a cancer survivor, I'm only here today because my cancer was found in stage 1. And I can tell you, losing access to screenings will cost lives.
Family planning clinics save taxpayers $3.74 for every $1 that is spent providing contraceptive care. We all agree that we must cut spending, but it is reckless to eliminate programs that save taxpayer dollars.
Now is the time to be working on the issues that are most important to Americans, creating jobs, improving the economy, rather than legislation directly aimed at the health care of women.
The people's budget puts America back to work, jobs, rebuilds America, infrastructure, balances the budget, and restores the American dream.
Provide for a safe, orderly, responsible redeployment of troops and contractors out of Iraq and Afghanistan, saving more than $1.5 trillion above current law spending levels over 10 years.
The majority of the American people want millionaires and large corporations to pay their fair share. If this budget that's being talked about is about shared sacrifice, then we want to literally share that sacrifice.
Don't believe that we represent special interests who have the best signs and can drink a lot of tea, but actually that we're here trying to support people who are in need.